What is going on, guys? I'm going to show you where the helicopters spawn in Firestorm. I did a brief video before that showed 2 locations, but since then I have found 10 more, so I thought I'd do one really good video for you guys. Now, do keep in mind that the helicopter doesn't always spawn in the same locations consistently, but at the end of the video I will show you my strat on how I'm basically getting a helicopter every time I jump in. Just like my bunker location video where I labeled each bunker with a number and matched it with a timestamp in the pinned comments below, I'll do the exact same thing here with the helicopter locations. So if you're diving into a specific spot, you can find the number of the landing spot located at the timestamp in the comments below, just so you can skip all the other locations and you can know more about the specific area you're trying to drop into. Alright, so let's get started with the first spawn on my list. This one is right by Frigaden. This is the most common type of environment with structures that are surrounding the helicopter spawn. It's normally at a large tower within a military style base, and it also has a squared off launch pad that the helicopter will be sitting at. The second one is right next to the dam, up on a hill on another military base. This one was kind of strange when I first saw it, because even though it's at a military base, there was no launch pad it was sitting on, and instead it was just sitting over here in the corner, and it just looked out of place, and there were enemies around, so I wasn't sure if someone had just landed. But I jumped in and it had a full tank of fuel, so I did come back later at a separate game and confirm that this spot is legitimate by finding it again, but this time was no enemies around. There are a bunch of these military bases around that look very much like this one that I never saw a helicopter spawn in, so it could be it didn't spawn at the specific time I was at, and it might be spawning on other games where I was preoccupied with other locations. So if you guys do catch any more of these helicopter locations that I didn't label on the map, be sure to let me know in the comments down below, and I'll be sure to update the map. The third spot is not even at a military base, so it just goes to show how unpredictable these spots can be and why I won't be surprised if there's more that I've missed. But it's right at the center of the lake where you see the large island in the middle. It has a squared off launch pad, so that does help a little bit, but that's basically all that indicates to you that this is a spawn for a helicopter. The fourth helicopter spawn on my list is out in the middle of nowhere, not too far away from the dam. This one has no rhyme or reason for being here, unlike the other spawns for the helicopters that are normally by a military base, or they at least have a launch pad it's sitting in. This one is right at the corner where these 2 roads intersect, so hopefully that helps you guys out if you guys are trying to look in your game to see if the helicopter spawns here. Number 5 is just by Oldenburg, next to the zigzagging road. It's at the usual military style base with a large tower. It's just off to the side of the base, but it's sitting in its own launch pad that usually has fuel in it. So you may want to check right next to this helicopter to see if there's fuel that you can pick up right before you jump in. Number 6 is not too far away from number 5. It's just across this major road that leads you to Pluto's dig site. It is another military style base with a tower, so you won't be able to miss it when you're trying to get visuals on it. Number 7 is yet again a military base. It is right by Arctic Lake. It doesn't have a tower for easy spotting, but you can see the launch pad on the mini map, which is normally the way these military bases appear on the map when there's a possibility of a helicopter spawning there. And then we have number 8, which is not surprisingly again another military base. It's right off to the side of the lake that's in the middle of the map, and it has another launch pad that it's sitting in that is directly right under the large tower. Number 9 is way out by Boulder's Point, right next to the lighthouse and these 2 buildings. It's one of the few and the last one on my list that doesn't land by a military base, so that's refreshing. I wouldn't be surprised again if there maybe might be 1 or 2 of these that could be out there that aren't on my list that are spawning in these kind of random locations, so do keep an eye out for that. Number 10 is not too far away from Nana Haven. It's a little bit off from the large tower that you'll see on the map. So if you're landing there, don't go directly to the tower. It's just off to the front of it, and it has its own launch pad that it's sitting in. Unlike number 10, number 11 is sitting right next to its giant tower. It's not too far away from Hanson's Farms, and you can follow this major road if you're trying to make it there by car. But if you're dropping in, just look out for the giant tower, and it'll lead you right next to the helicopter spawn location. And finally, we have number 12, which is right by Hodstad. It's yet again another military base with no tall tower, unfortunately, so it may be a little bit more difficult to spot visually on the map, but it has its own launch pad that it's sitting in. So that's my full list right there. If there's any more you guys find out, do let me know, because these tend to spawn some places here one game, and then spawn in completely other places another game. So tracking these all down can be a bit difficult, but to briefly give you guys my strat on how I'm basically every game getting a helicopter, is now that you know the spots, right before you drop in and you're in the plane, you can look down on the map below at the specific locations where you know the helicopter spawns. And if you look close enough, your eyes will start to get trained on how to notice these helicopters if they're there in the spawn locations. And if they're not, you'll be able to eliminate jumping into spots that have no helicopter. To make it easier at the start of each game, put the marker on one of these spawn locations that the plane is flying over first. And if there's no helicopter you see from the plane, shift to the next possible helicopter spawn on the map that the plane is going to. You're bound to eventually run into one of these helicopters. I have found up to 3 helicopters that have spawned at the same time on the map in one specific game. So again, if you're just doing this every single time and you're checking out all of these spawn locations while you're in the plane, you're bound to run into one of these. So again, I don't think I've landed since I've become aware of all these spawn locations for the helicopter, and I haven't been able to drop in and pick one up for myself. The only tricky part is sometimes if you wait a little bit too long to jump onto the map, there can be enemies who just randomly choose the location where the helicopter is at, and mainly because they're trying to find loot, so they're unaware really the helicopter's there. And if you're trying to jump in and you're lagging a little bit behind, be sure to land right next to the cockpit and hit the button to enter in. By doing this, you will avoid the lengthy landing animation that can take away those precious first seconds when you're landing onto the battlefield. But hopefully that helps you guys out. I am Livin', and I'll catch you guys again later.